Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Under Further Review with me, Noel Granada. In these segments, I'll be giving you a quick look at each team going into the 2013 season. I'll be talking about last season, the off-season, my favorite picks from the draft, player positions, and can they make the playoffs. Today on my board, I have the Who Dat Nation of the New Orleans Saints. Ooh, that, ooh, that, ooh, that, ooh, that. Well, let's quickly look at what happened the last season. Well, they went 7-9, missed the playoffs. They also missed Sean Payton due to suspension of the bounty scandal. Drew Brees completely ripped it up on offense, throwing for 5,177 yards and 43 touchdowns. And lastly, their offense ranked second in the league, along with a defense that finished dead last, 32nd. So there needs to be some sort of balance here for the Saints this year. The offseason. Sean Payton is back, and he's been preaching to this team this year that there is a lot of work to be done. A lot of work. Now, this offensive team, it's very good. As far as the offensive side, very, very good. It's a machine, no doubt about it. The biggest issue is on defense, which they gave up averages of 440 yards a game total. That is terrible. So, you want to hear something worse? For the season total, they gave up over 7,000 yards the whole season. Over 7,000 yards. For that, I don't understand. I mean, the only reason the Saints won games is because of the pass-happy offense of the Drew Brees machine. So, they didn't have a running game either, so they really put the load on Brees last year. So, you know, Rob Ryan is the new D coordinator. It looks like the Saints will be running a 3-4 this year. So they also lost a key starter and left tackle Jamon Bushrod, who's now protecting the blind side over there in Jake Cutler in Chicago. They also lost Cedric Ellis at defensive tackle. So in the market, they went and picked up Keenan Lewis, cornerback, linebacker Victor Butler, and Seneca Wallace, who's not with the team right now. So it's kind of been floating. I don't know why I have this in my notes. As I saw these guys, probably the most important pickups that they got. I'm not sure who's going to get cut, obviously. I'm reading my notes at the same time. Sorry about this. It's very late. But this defense needs to improve. So some of the new guys need to prove themselves this offseason. I think the biggest concern for the Saints is, can they create a running game also? Take some slack off of Drew Brees and revive this defense. So after finishing dead last in the season last year. My favorite picks from the draft. I like the Saints draft as they went and drafted a lot of much needed defenders at the 32nd ranked defense. I'll pick just one, and I really like first round pick out of Texas, safety Kenny Vaccaro. He should start right away, I think, and he has great anticipation, and he shows many times in college how he can make big plays on the field. He also has a solid stat at reading some coverages and run, and you know, he just maybe need to adjust to the pass coverages, but he can read run very well. But this guy should have a great turnout, and I think the Saints got a nice gem in this guy. Player positions. Quarterback. Even though Drew Brees struggled last season, I myself, really didn't see it too much. This guy has just always been on top of his game, always been productive for just so many years, and he's just still got more ahead of him. He really just has it all, I think, and he's just amazing to watch to throw the ball and control this crazy offense. Imagine what this guy could do if he had a rushing attack that could ease some pressure off of him and bring the safeties in. I expect another mass productive season from him and leading his team, obviously, in the 2013 season. The backup will probably be Luke McCown, and we'll see how that goes. Running backs. Mark Ingram was the top leading rusher for the Saints last year with an amazing 602 yards and 5 touchdowns. Catch my sarcasm there? Behind him was Pierre Thomas with 473 yards, and 1 touchdown, and Darren Sproles, who ran for 244 yards and 1 touchdown. This just needs to get so much better for the Saints. It is just silly. It's way worse than what we have, I think. As Packers, way worse. So Ingram needs to stay healthy as he, was starting to get productive, and he should be very productive as he's won the Heisman Trophy in college. So, he's coming up short on his expectations. So he needs to get this guy. This guy just needs to get going for the Saints. Otherwise, I don't know. They might cut him. I mean, mostly staying healthy is the number one issue right here to really help out Breeze. So step up, backs. You have a decent line, so do your job and get to those running lanes and holes and just make people miss and don't let them tackle you. Period. Wide receivers. Well, the load is definitely shared between these wide receiving guys. So everyone just seems to get passes and everyone seems to catch it. So the yards, touchdowns, all distributed equally. Jimmy Graham and Marquise Colston are Bree's favorites targets, and also has Lance Moore and Darren Sproles with those guys. I just expect nothing more than consistent production from this group. Offensive line. Well, everyone is coming back on this line except left tackle Jerome Bushrod, which in my opinion is always your best and important lineman here for as far as right-hand quarterbacks go. I'm excited to see who will take the spot at left tackle in training camp this year. So it looks like Charles Brown so far has a spot locked, but anything can happen. This line should be fine. I think it'll be fine going into this year. So expect a decent line. Defensive line. Well, now there will be a 3 lineman playing on this due to the scheme change. So the ends look to be Will Smith, who just tore his ACL this year, who's out. So that's going to hurt. And Cameron Jordan and Nick Broderick Bunkley. Smith is a super tough loss. So whoever starts, though, first and foremost needs to figure out how to stop this run with these other 2 guys. So that's not looking good so far. Linebackers. The middle will be played by Curtis Lofton and David Hawthorne, and outside will be Jonathan Vilmer and ex-Cowboy Victor Butler. He's out with an ACL. Sorry. Why didn't I know that? Like before, I don't know what to say other than they just need to figure out this unit and stop the run and pass with whatever players they got. Maybe I guess this works, but I mean, as far as losing Smith and Victor Butler on your other side, I mean, I don't know what to expect, honestly. Anyway. And finally, we reach the last part of this awful, terrible defense. So I'm hoping that ex-Steeler cornerback Keenan Lewis can help. He really could help with Jabari Greer, who has been great for the Saints in the recent past. Safety positions are up to grabs, but I think they fall to starters Malcolm Jenkins and Roman Harper. They need to really step up this year, or they could be as good as gone next year with some fresh legs to take over at safety. If I was a Saints fan, I think I would be really concerned with the secondary. I don't think the Saints are paying too much attention either to this position, which is in need of really help. They are hurting here, so it's going to hurt them again this season, I feel. So we'll see. Special teams. Kicker Garrett Hartley made 18 out of 22 field goals last year, who looks to be kicking fine going into this year. And punter Thomas Morstead went to the Pro Bowl last year. Nice union here with some speedy returner and Darren Sproles. Can they make the playoffs? I'm going to have to say no to the Saints, and here's why. Now, I know it seems crazy to see, but let's start out with the division. I mean, I've made this point clearly about talking about any of these teams in this division. This is an incredibly tough division. Let's start out with Tampa. They're going to have a much better defense with Darrelle Revis covering a third of the field over there. Atlanta is the reigning champs. And Carolina is looking to top on some wins this year when they've lost so many so close. So, they have to play these teams twice. So that's a total of, 6 games there? So they got to at least meet them halfway and beat even there. They also have to play non-division opponents, Arizona, Miami, Chicago, New England, Dallas, San Francisco, Buffalo, and the New York Jets. So what's going to make the difference is that defense. Obviously, that defense needs to kick in and needs to get comfortable enough to this run scheme properly. I do expect improvements on the defense, but will it be enough to help this team playing against teams like San Francisco, Seattle, Atlanta, Chicago, Carolina? I don't know. Now don't get me wrong. I love Drew Brees and this pass offense, and it's one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. But can they really just expect a way to pass through the playoffs? I mean, you need to have a run game, and you need to have some sort of defense to play with. So I fear without that running game, there's just no way. I mean, to help Breeze in this defense, that's going through transitioning, and they just try to patch it up, and I don't like it. So I just think the Saints will break even, maybe at 8-8, and maybe next year I think the New Orleans can sort of contend for that NFC division next year. And with that, my football fans, ends my segment on the New Orleans Saints. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope I wasn't too rough on them. And please leave any comments below. Subscribe to my page. I'm going to try to get all these videos done as soon as I can. The next team I'll be taking on will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which will be our last team for the NFC South Division. See you later, football fans.